Hello and welcome into FDF with Laird. I am Andrew Laird, joined today by the founder of Football.Fun, Adam. Adam is here to answer a bunch of our questions. Adam, I've got a wide range of questions for you. One of which I'm going to wait till the end because it feels like it's a huge question and I don't want to give it away right away. That's one of those content tricks here. But thank you for taking the time. You've been doing like the media circuit, like you just came out with a book and you're on all these news shows talking about it. And so I apologize because you'll inevitably be answering the same question 100 times, but greatly appreciate the time you're taking here.
All good. No, always enjoy coming on the show. I can see just from the questions in the chat already, it's going to be a fun one. And yeah, I've been doing kind of a lot of shows all week. We're kind of getting the attention at the moment on X. So yeah, it's kind of just good to get out there and talk to people about what we're doing. There's obviously when because you've been watching the product in like its free to play beta, like you kind of have more background on it almost. But a lot of people just kind of saw it explode in the last 2 weeks, and a lot of people were like, "What on earth is this? Is this a real thing? Is it? How does it work? Why is everyone posting these insane like profit and loss screenshots that can't be real?" And of course, they're not real. Like you can't, the entirety of crypto can't descend on a 10-day-old app and instantly become millionaires. It just doesn't work that way. So yeah, there's been kind of a lot of attention focused our way, which is of course exactly what you want as a new product. So obviously it's like, on the one hand, you've got this form of like, kind of hard work, but then you also think of, damn, what if I'd have launched it and no one had cared at all? Like that would have really sucked. So it's kind of the better way around, I think.
So it seems like what's happened over the last week, 10 days, it feels like it could have been a year. I don't know. I'll be honest that I started feeling not attacked myself, but there was this whole, as we all saw, like mostly on X, of everyone just like you mentioned, oh, I've 100x'd and I'm rich, blah blah blah. Go try this out. And then inevitably there were the people who are like, you should be careful about stuff like that. A brand new thing just pops up, and I was like, I've been playing this game for months. This is not like brand new. And if anybody wants to like take the time to like actually find out what this is, I'm happy to talk to them about it. But it felt like there was the people who had just discovered it and felt like they were going to be instant millionaires. And then the people were like, you probably aren't, and you should stay away from that platform. And I feel like I was in the middle, even though, I'm just here to talk about you guys. But you guys must have known some of this was going to come because of just the way that you implemented like the buy limits, and you knew that you were going to have bots that were going to come at the platform as soon as it opened. So like, what over the last 2 weeks, we'll say, were things that you guys kind of expected were going to come? And obviously you had some mitigating things to address those. And then was there anything that happened that totally surprised you?
Yeah, great start. So I think we did this on purpose. Like we planned for this. Like, that like, if you've been around crypto long enough, you know that the only way to like break through and like get attention and people like eyes on your product is to have a really exciting product that comes out of the gates really, really fast. And it's also never enough in crypto to like just have a really good product on its own. You've also got to have attention. You've got to have hype. It's got to have like volatility at the start. It's just got to be exciting. Otherwise it just gets lost in everything else. So the start we had was planned, but that doesn't mean you expect it. Like, we have been powered to like #1 app on Coinbase's chain by revenue and volume, $35 million of volume, $2.5 million of revenue in 2 weeks. So no, I didn't expect quite that. I had a feeling it was going to go well just because the feedback from beta was so good. And the retention numbers we had in a game that had no money, and was effectively just a kind of hobby for people. Like, people kept playing it for 6 months and enjoyed it. So we were confident in the product. And then we just had to execute. that marketing campaign. And as you say, like the economy was anticipating what would happen. You know, we knew if we didn't have buy limits, we could have shot up even further, but we'd be in trouble. I think, you know, we would have 20 whales who might own the ecosystem that we might not even know them, and they could set themselves up as the Yamal Baron for the rest of their lives, and that would just be bad, like for the economy. So, believe it or not, we've actually throttled our own growth by slowing that down. We're giving more and more people time to get here and discover us and be able to like sort of be in at an early phase before it all gets bought up by, you know, whales or whatever. So there is that element, and we also protected the downside. Whereas, you know, like if we were successful and you run up, there's always a kind of down. Like nothing ever just goes up in a straight line. So you then need to kind of protect the real players as much as possible from, you know, the guys who come in and treat it like a meme coin casino. You know, that they will come in, and these are the guys I've been sort of quite openly arguing with on Twitter, because we obviously have a platform fee, which is essential for like the sustainability. It doesn't all go to fund my yacht. You know, we do reuse it in the economy. It is actually net positive to players. It's net positive to real players, but it sucks if you are the type of guy who wants to come in and sell. Like immediately buy a player and then sell them. Like it will kind of tax people on that. And then if the market is in like a red phase and it's going down, there's like these like Uber style like surge fees on the market, which no one has ever done before in crypto. So I think this is like part of the reason it's been a big discussion point across the whole of crypto Twitter, because it's like, hey, this thing's doing stuff and it's new and it's different. And I think a lot of founders might have looked at that and maybe taken the fee off, or like said, oh, this is unpopular with a certain part. And instead I put out an article and just kind of defended it. And it seemed to go well, because you've got like half of crypto and the real sports fans who are like, we totally get why you're doing this. This is kind of good. You're trying to build a real product. And then a reasonable other half or less who are just like, no, we really don't like these fees. And ultimately you've got to pick a side, right? Like you can't please everyone. And everything we're doing is about like trying to maximize the value for the players who are going to stick with us for years, hopefully. And if we inconvenience the guys who are coming to like flip, cool. Well, it's kind of, that is the intent. Like the fee is literally targeted at you to stop you from like, or tax you when you do what you do, because it's better for the economy. So I literally have DMs from people where they like came in, bought a player at like a launch immediate, like for $300, immediately sold them for like $20,000, but then were taxed 20%. And they're in my DMs crying. He's like, I only made $16,000. What? How can you explain this? I'm like, are you serious? Get out of my DM.
I had noticed that you used that 20 to 16 example in a couple of other shows, and I was like, it's the perfect one of, complaining about profiting $16,000, and then when you put it that way, I mean, there are still plenty of people who are like, yeah, no, but I want my 20. I think
kind of crazy.
Yeah, I think one of the things that was missed kind of in all of the reactions to people talking about the flipping was that, just like you said, like there are mechanisms in place to try to limit it. Now you're not eliminating it. People are still, more than welcome to do it. It's just that those measures are put in place for both the health of the platform and the health of the users who are going to continue being on the platform. And I think, unfortunately, that got lost a little bit, and maybe that's just where we have to talk about more.
I don't like having 20% fees on the platform. It sucks, and they are temporary. They come off after a period of time, so they do come off. But yeah, you can get like real players got constrained by that effectively. So it is like collateral damage, which I don't like. But I think it will come off over time. Like the market will stabilize. I think the more liquidity that comes into the platform, you will see fewer wild swings. And we always knew like this kind of initiation phase was going to be wild. When you log in, it literally says it on the front. Like, this is a kind of crypto native product. It's going to be volatile. If you're not experienced in that, it probably is better to go and check out the free to play game for a while, and then maybe come swing back around and come back to pro when we're more settled. So it was always going to be this way. I think now the priority for us is really, I think we can call like phase 0 of marketing complete. Like, people know who we are at least. And now it's really about the consistency element of just making sure that we just demonstrate that this is a fun product, that we listen to the feedback that we've got, that we iterate, we make it. I think like some parts of it are not immediately easy to understand. So we've got like different plans to like improve that element. But I think over time, people will just get used to us. They'll realize that this isn't just something that will appear for 2 weeks and then go away. Like, this is the product I've always wanted to build my entire life. It's not going anywhere. Like, we're well funded, well backed. Every time the flippers come and dump on us, we're even better funded. So it's like it only makes us stronger and more here for the long term.
Did the volatility, I don't want to say did the volatility surprise you, because as you just said, like, you were kind of expecting it. Did the volume of the volatility, if that makes sense, was that kind of expected, or did you guys just think it's going to be crazy and we're just going to let's see what happens?
No, I knew it would run up. I did not expect it to go from, I think it was a $2 million market cap to a $150 million market cap in like days. And no, of course I didn't expect that to happen. And when it was happening, you were just like refreshing the screen going, oh my God, like this is absolutely insane. But that is what happens to like the top apps on crypto when they start trending. But yeah, it was also like, that was surprising, like how fast it goes up. I was probably less surprised by it coming down a bit from there. But it's still not nice to see. And I think one of the things I'm trying to kind of get across to the team is that like team morale and the success of the company doesn't depend on this line anymore. It doesn't depend entirely on this line. That is temporary. What matters is that we ship the product, we make it good, we make it fun. If you do that, the line will take care of itself. I was definitely surprised, I think, by how when you hit that level, people come for you. Like, there's a lot of people cheering for you, but there's also people who maybe see you as a threat, or they just weren't in on the latest thing and they feel like they were left out. So therefore they kind of come at you. We had people, we had like actual hackers like trying to take down our site. So that was all weekend. When you want to be recovering and sort of having a bit of a break or whatever. No, we were fighting hackers and bots and people like trying to abuse our referral scheme at the low level to actually just malicious attacks trying to slow us down because we were getting the attention and they weren't for whatever reason. So that was all weekend. So people saw like a slowdown in the site performance. They couldn't trade, which again, like when you've just run up that high, it then makes people nervous. They're like, oh, is this site falling over? Is there something wrong with it? And that was probably the intent of whoever was doing it. We've kind of put a stop to it now. And we've strengthened our team with like security experts as well. Because it's like, this is real now. Like, and when you break out to that level, people come at you. I was a bit surprised. I try not to take it personally, but I was a bit surprised by how strong that was. And we even had people like paying, like you can pay like a relatively small amount of money to get hundreds of people to swarm a Discord and like foot it, like basically like spend, like just give misinformation or call it a scam or whatever. And that was happening as well. So there's someone out there just doing that stuff, which I guess we should have probably anticipated a bit more. But I guess we didn't quite expect to go from like 0 to 1,000 miles an hour in the way that it just happened.
It's a funny we made it moment when you realize that there are people who are coming in to do that.
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, I think the response that I've had to a lot of people about the volatility, and I probably come at this from a different perspective from a lot of users, because you've kind of mentioned a number of times that it seems like you look at this as a crypto, and the way that I've kind of explained it to people is that it's a crypto project with footballers, and it's not necessarily a football game that happens to be on crypto. Like, I think the crypto part of it is important, and whether that puts people off or not, I mean, I then kind of follow up that I was like, if I can figure the crypto stuff out, anyone can. Like, I don't consider myself any sort of crypto expert, but the first 2 weeks feels like what you see in new crypto projects, which is why I kind of like talk about it that way. But the response that I have to others are, if this is not what you want to be involved with, I feel like once our first 100 players, first 200 players are out, it not that there's going to be a calm, but it'll look very calm to what we're seeing right now. And so if you want to join the game, then that's fine. Forget about the whole it's early, and looking at all these 100x charts that don't really exist. But I do expect there to be some calm in it, and that's when I feel like we can really start playing the game as it's meant.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think I set out to build a football game, and I happen to think that building it on chain is better. Two primary reasons. One, the transparency aspect. So you can look at, there's like dashboards now where you can see exactly how much is in the economy. You can see how many users are joining, like maximum transparency. You can see absolutely everything. I think that's fantastic. The second element is like the security of like building on Coinbase infrastructure. If you wanted to build that tech on your own, take years and millions of dollars. So you get all that element. So I think it's good. And I probably would not build it without blockchain technology. So I think that is a good reason. But ultimately, we want to build a football game first. I think the way you have to market yourself in crypto means that a lot of people were introduced to us kind of like, it looked a bit like a meme coin casino.
Yeah.
But that is not what we are. It's an opening marketing tactic, effectively. When now we have that attention, we're going to do something with it. Like, people are going to see that this is actually a game that is fun, that is rewarding. And even some of those, like, there's nothing wrong with the speculative user, right? I'm not against them. Like, that crypto is full of them. We're actually converting some of them to real players along the way, as well. So it's not like we're anti that behavior. It's actually kind of common thread between sports fans and crypto people, right? Sports fans like to speculate too, on all kinds of things. So it is actually a natural fit for both groups. So yeah, we are actually converting some of those users into football fans, believe it or not. So I think we'll just see a kind of normal naturalization over time, where people will, particularly when the drops are over, as you say, and it becomes a more normalized market. So I think we're probably 2-3 months out from like more sensible times. And the next month, I expect more chaos. But that's probably, that's not been a bad thing for us as we kind of start life. But yeah, I do say to people, if that's not your thing, like if you're not familiar with those environments, or you are like not sure in any way, just come back in a couple of months or 3 months, or play free to play. That's absolutely fine.
The waiting thing to me seems to be the advice I give, because like you've described, you want this platform to last like 10 plus years. And if the first 3 months are volatile enough that people are staying away for that reason, you have 9 years and, and 9 months after that will be perfectly fine. And so, I think it's just obviously an interesting launch and marketing dynamic of we're going to play into the volatility early on to get the attention. And then once people settle in and appreciate what the platform really is, they'll enjoy it from there on. And I'm fully confident that that's going to be the case, that the more that people really figure out how to play the game, it's an excellent way to essentially put your money where your mouth is when it comes to fantasy football. And I think you mentioned just a minute ago, like you don't want to push traders away basically, but the way that I have been looking at it for myself, just my own portfolio of shares that I have to now really figure out how to trim down and everything. But like the skill that will, like, I think skill wins in this game. And I think that's one of the things that you've been talking about. I mean, since the beta all along, that the more that you put into the game in terms of your mind, and obviously putting more money in, you're going to win more rewards. But the skill level is necessary in this game, and that's what intrigues me the most of it.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, like the product thing that is coming up most on my radar at the moment is like, particularly after we dropped rewards, there was a very varied reaction. So some people were like, "Oh my god, this is like really rewarding. I've got so many new player shares," and other people were like, "I've got nothing. Why is there no rewards at all?" And I think there's certainly an expectation problem that we need to solve, and I think it's due to feedback in the app. So it is kind of designed that way, in that if you're very successful, you will get quite a number of skill points. So the guys at the top of the leaderboard will be able to promote like 70-80% of the ones that they're pulling out of packs. The guys at the bottom, if you finish bottom 25% in that tournament, you actually get 0 skill points. And that is because it is a game of skill. That design decision was around, I actually do think skill-based games are more fun. It also keeps you out of betting in a lot of jurisdictions, because you're not an everyone's a winner game. Is games of skill rather than games of chance are generally not considered to be betting in most jurisdictions. So there's a very kind of hard commitment to that. And I also just think it's more fun. Like I like to play skill-based games. But you're still talking about 75% of users do get rewards. I think the primary issue at the moment is that no one's really getting in-tournament feedback about how well they're doing, because the live score screen kind of shows you the tournament points you're winning, but it's not showing you in real time yet how your squad is doing, like how your like best 11 players. Yep. So I was talking about this with the team this morning, and someone, I think it was Mike, our CTO, had a really good comparison. It's like you're playing a game of Call of Duty, but you're not getting any feedback on whether you got shot or not, or you're not getting any feedback on whether you killed anyone. So like you get to the end of the game and you're like, what do I win? And we're like, dude, you died 3 hours ago. Like you were never really in this at all. And I think that is like the problem that's like flashing up on my radar, is that we already have this designed in Figma. We just haven't built it yet, but like the mid-tournament view of how you're doing, so that you can, then people will get it. I think they'll be like, oh, I didn't win because of this. And that is much more easy to accept, I think.
So I'm glad this all came up, because I'm in a group on Discord with a number of people who've gotten very much into the game, and the discussions we have about skill points is endless, because we don't have a very firm formula basically. And so the idea is, ultimately the question is like, how the hell do we get these skill points? And we're looking at like how many tournament points each of us won based on the shares we have and the players we have and our whole portfolios. And we're like, oh, so I think my percentage, and I don't even know if this is the way that we should be thinking of it or how you think the user should, but like I got my tournament points, my skill points were basically 84% of the tournament points that I won. And I know they're not like 1-to-1, but it's coming, unfortunately, like out of frustration a little bit, because so like this was my tournament winnings for this past game week or this past tournament, excuse me. But it doesn't feel like I'm remotely close to the 70 to 80% to get my packs to become active squad.
Yeah.
And so what we want to know is basically, what do we have to do differently in the game to get our skill points up? Because right now it just feels like we just find out at the end.
I think you've done pretty well there. Like 7,000 is quite high. I think one of the issues, which we may or may not be able to solve, and it may just solve itself when the economy balances, is that the first thing everyone does is they go and promote Yamal. And he's so far ahead in the economy that he's probably like out ahead of where the rewards are, right? Like he's the cost to promote is based on the price of the player.
Okay.
So if the player is expensive on the market, it costs more to promote him, which does make sense. So what I find, my experience when playing is if I go and try and promote Yamal or Mbappe, it does feel expensive. If I go and try and promote the other players, it actually feels pretty good value. So I think the way I think of the development part of the game is that is a kind of mini game in itself of I'm not just going to promote Yamal immediately. I'm going to think about what's the best value play I can make here. Like, which of these players do I think is going to like be the best value pick? Who's maybe undervalued right now that I should use my skill points on so that I maximize the value of my SP. So I sort of think of that as a mini game, and I'm not sure everyone does yet or has started thinking about it in those terms, perhaps.
So I think from the user's perspective, like you open your packs and you get like a ton of Yamal, and then you go to promote it and you're like, I can't, I just have to sit on this. That doesn't feel like a great experience to me.
I think that's fair. It has kind of crossed my mind. I think there's probably something there where like every time you get a player, it should, like every pack opening should feel good. So there's probably like a missing link there as to when you pull your Yamal, it should always feel good. So a couple of ideas we've had is, hey, that could be like, you could get like an automatic contract refresh or something. So like, even if you can't promote them, you've still got a benefit of like pulling that player out of the pack. So yeah, we're open to ideas on that. But yeah, it is a valid comment about the way that works. It is kind of about the way the economy is at the moment. And it is quite tricky to balance in the early stage because the player values are so far from each other. But yeah, I hear you on that. It is an issue.
Yeah. So Maxime is like, this is kind of the point was like, how do we gain more skill points? Because this is right here, like packs don't matter. Like that's what's starting. That's like the initial thought right now, because like, oh, you can open all the packs you want, but if everything or if most of it ends up staying in your development squad, what did you really win? And so I think like that's ultimately like what I think in order to recognize the rewards, obviously we need the skill points to bring those shares from development to your active squad. And if you could win 10 million shares of Yamal, but if you can only promote 10 of them, what did we really win? And I think that's literally like this group that I'm in, which some of these guys are in. It's like we would like to optimize the way our portfolio in order to maximize skill points, because that's how you really generate rewards. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, you're still getting like the reward is based on like you're getting an amount of skill points, and you can use those skill points in different ways. Currently, the least efficient way is to promote Yamal because he's just way more expensive and other players are a much better value. So I get mixed feedback on this. I get that approach, and I also get people who are like, actually, I really love this idea of like, instead of just doing the obvious thing, I'm actually trying to find the best value within that. So, but there is something a little bit weird about pulling something from a pack and then immediately not being able to open it, perhaps. But then it's also super common in a lot of games. So, like, for example, Counter-Strike is one of the world's most popular games. At the end, it drops you a loot box. I mean, you can't open it, and it teases you that you have this thing, but you can't yet get to it. And you've got to sometimes you've got to spend money, or sometimes you've got to play more to get the key to open that loot box. So it is not an uncommon mechanic, but I do agree there's perhaps something slightly off at the moment, where because you already have a stack of Yamal, getting more Yamal isn't necessarily a good thing anymore. It just kind of adds to your stack.
Yeah, I guess it's just it feels like we're missing the reward. Like, it's like you won something, but there's nothing here for you to realize it. And like, I completely appreciate the whole, like, you know, you may win shares of non-Yamal. I mean, is it basically coming down to the fact that Yamal is kind of breaking it a little bit?
A little bit. Certainly the volatility in the market is. So the original cost to promote was based on a 14-day average of the price. So had we left that in, everyone would be promoting Yamal, and they'd be going crazy. But it would also suppress the price of Yamal. He's not actually supposed to be promoted for that cheap. So we made the promote cost the current market price. In normal times, if it lags the price a bit, that can be quite good, because you kind of, at the time of opening, he might have been at a cheaper price, and you could therefore get like a bonus for like promoting them early effectively. But because it's now like current market price and he's so much more expensive, the reward economy is not giving you enough to promote that particular player. It's giving you more than enough to promote all the others. But yeah, it's also like an expectation issue. I think the way the packs present themselves are as if they are yours already.
Mm-hmm.
They're kind of not. So I think there's like a UX challenge there. I also encounter a lot of people who like this mechanic, and I think there is also an element that you're also not supposed to be able to do it, right? Like, it is a game where if you really want to open all your packs and like realize the value, you've got to be very, very, very good. So there is there's an element to it there where people are gonna have to get used to that idea, because you can't have everyone promoting everything all the time, because you have to be able to over reward the top players, and you know it is kind of part of the game that you're not supposed to be able to promote everything.
Okay, so I mean, I think that was kind of known with if you can promote 60 to 70 or 70 to 80%, I think was the number. Like, the idea is you can promote 70, 80% of the shares that you win, then obviously that's 20 to 30 that don't.
That's on average,
like,
of the whole player base. So you'll have people who are up at 90, people are at 0. Like, if they just consistently do not win skill points, they're just not going to get anything. And yeah, that is kind of definition of a skill-based contest. You know, it is a competition. So I think there is an element of I have spoken to people who come across with a real sense of entitlement, actually. Like, you know, I've pulled this pack, I should be able to promote 100% of it. And I've also been quite strong about that and said, actually, no, you didn't win, so you don't get to do that. The people who win do. So there is an element of that, but I also accept that there are some hard edges on this. We've built a very, very different game that I think no one has ever really built before. It's not, there are different elements to this, so it's going to take us time to sort of refine these and make them feel good. But it is also like we consider these kind of reward mechanisms like live operations. We literally make changes, and our objective is really just to make sure they do feel good every single tournament. So we've already got some ideas around like how we make every pack opening feel good. I think the promote mechanic is here to stay. It's good, and it's a really strong way for us to manage the economy, and be sure about how much value we're putting out there. And there's also a lot of people who like the development option and start to think about it as a mini game in itself. But yeah, it really should feel good when you pull your maul. So we need to work on that, I think.
So the question that I think everyone really wants to, or at least the few people I talk to about it really want to know, is there going to be like a publicly available skill point formula that we can just say, this is how we can maximize skill points? And if the answer is no, like that's fine. But that's where it's coming to now, that we're actually in this mindset of skill points are literally more important than tournament points, which is weird because like the tournament points get you your packs. But eventually, like you're going to need more skill points if you want to promote as many shares as you want. Well, I don't want to say it that way, because the skill point, the shares you want to promote is 100%, obviously. And the game is clearly set up not to have that be the case. But the being able to optimize at least towards skill points, I think would be beneficial for some people.
There are also some people out there who have more skill points than they have tournament points.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
I'm very jealous of those people.
Yeah. One of the things we're going to do is we're going to have a conversion mechanic. So like if you have more of one than the other, you'll be able to like swap. So we can't do that directly, but because legally speaking, in a game of skill, you have to earn your skill points. So we can never give them away for quests or like objectives or anything like that. But what I think we can do is say, hey, I have too many TPs. I'm going to burn some of them. And I will get this like bonus pool of skill points. And then when I win real skill points, I will get more added from my bonus pool. So I'm like making my own like extras. So because we'll never be able to like balance it for everyone, we can actually let people do it themselves. So there will be a way of like converting between the two, which I think will alleviate quite a lot of these issues actually. So I think that's quite a good idea. Will we ever release the formula for skill points? We're going to give people better information, but I don't think we want to release the math. Few reasons for this. One, if you take the example of like esports, League of Legends, Counter-Strike, they don't release the skill point thing. Why? Because people try and game it. People still speculate on it, and kind of speculating on it is sort of part of the interest for the enthusiasts crowd. But one of the things I think is once that is out there, it pleases 10% of the user base, but then everyone thinks they have to understand this math. And that mental load can be a problem for casual players, because even if they feel someone else has that advantage and you don't really get it.
Sure.
What I hope to happen is that it actually just it is intuitive. If you don't try and drive yourself crazy and you just think, hey, who's actually good at football? And I put gold into those players and I concentrate my gold on the picks that I think are the best, it comes out well. Like, so I wonder whether it might be a mistake of like the enthusiast crowd, myself included, would of course want to know every single detail. But if we're looking to like the long term of like making this a game that is actually like really easy to play, maybe we don't do that. So we'll kind of see how that goes. I think there's certainly a need for like better information about how your skill points were kind of accrued. So if you could see like a top 11 mid-tournament of I'm scoring this amount with this player, you could figure it out pretty much. Like, I think you could be like, oh, I can see why this player is higher than this one, but there just isn't that information. So going back to like the Call of Duty example, it's like, you just don't get that visual feedback. of like, oh, I just got shot. Oh, I just did something good. I think our game needs to evolve so that people can see almost in like real tournament time what is doing well for them and what isn't. I think if you have that, you don't necessarily need the background math. So yeah, that's going to be the first step, is like giving that easy, intuitive feedback. If that doesn't work, maybe we need to release a bit more of the math. But yeah, I think that could create its own problems as well.
Yeah, I don't think having the formula, not that it doesn't matter. I think there are plenty of people who would love to have it. That doesn't necessarily mean it's good for the whole platform to do it. And kind of just like what you said, if you had the formula and 10% of people are optimizing for it because they understand the math, then you have a lot of people who are either feel like they're left behind or they just don't want to play anymore because they're like, I'm not going to go through all of that math to do it. Did you say, I just want to follow up, because right now we can essentially cut shares that we won for additional tournament points. Did you say we might be able to do that for skill points in the future?
You would be able to swap your TPs, excess TP into SP.
Yeah.
But yeah, you at the moment, like, let's say you get loads of Yamal, you can like basically, I guess this is one advantage of having Yamal, is that you can basically mill him back into quite a lot of TP because he's high value, and you could roll again and like get other players that might be better value to promote. So that actually might be like a pretty efficient tactic, come to think of it right now, like, is actually not spending on Yamal, but use the fact that he is high value to mill him into TP. And then if you pull cheaper players out that might rise in value more, they're actually way more efficient with your SP.
Sure.
So if I was I have zero time to think about this and actually play my game right now because I'm doing all these things, but that would be the sort of thing I would be thinking, as to like, how can I turn the system to my advantage? And I've seen a few people start to figure that stuff out. I don't know if I'm definitely right about that theory. That's just me sort of spitballing based on like what I just thought of right now. But that is possible. Like, that could be efficient. That could be like the best way of doing it. So yeah, I think I would like to keep the simplicity of the game, because this is the crazy thing. Like, the game is super simple at the top level. If you don't overthink it, if you come in, you buy good players and they perform well in real life, you will come out well in the skill system. So that is the ultimate message that I want to take out to the mass market one day. However, we have a lot of people around, you and me included, who absolutely do want to maximize every advantage and be the most efficient we can. So yeah, we need to like work out the right balance for that, I think. But I think guys like me and you and the other sort of enthusiasts will always find our edge. Like, if we're given enough information and like feedback, we'll always find the way to grind that little bit of extra out of the game, for sure.
Yeah, I think the problem is just that, like, not, how do I word this? It feels like the winning the top prize right now, which feels like Yamal, doesn't feel like winning enough, even though like, Yamal is one of the best players in the world, and he's super young, which is why it contributes to why he's the most expensive player on the platform. And so maybe it's all of this is just like complaints about the single player out of what inevitably will be 200 that kind of breaks it. And maybe it just changes after a while, because it feels like the response is, congratulations on winning Yamal. Use the skill points that you still have to get to play other guys to try to win Yamal. But then ultimately, like, you're not recognizing the Yamal, like, you never get the Yamal to use him to win other things. And maybe, once everything kind of settles down, that settles also, and we figure it out. Not to say that only having Yamal is a way to play, because the game is literally made to not have that be the case. You need to have more players. You need to be more skillful than say, yes, Yamal is the only guy I want. But I guess just the little bit of that's missing is is that fun of like, oh, I won Yamal, and you're like, oh, but I didn't I won him for my development squad.
Yeah.
Sorry, I keep going back to that, but that's sort of the example I keep hearing.
No, I agree. I think there's probably something missing from the pack opening experience where, I guess Marvel Snap is a good example of this. So no matter how many times you pull the same card, there's always like an advantage to doing it. Like you basically get like XP that is only applicable to a certain hero. So I think, there's certainly things we can do to make sure like every time you pull Yamal, it feels good. Maybe that's because maybe you don't cut him for TP. Maybe you can use those Yamal shares to like extend the contract of the Yamal that you have already, so that you're getting like free stuff. So I think another point that we should talk about is the contract. So
that is my next point or my next group of questions. Yeah.
I often see people like trying to calculate like ROI based on that. You can't really do because the rewards are dynamic in a way, but like the contracts are not really aimed at the kind of active players. Like if you're playing the game and you've got like trade volume, you will get like a volume discount on fees. So that's ultimately what the reputation is for, the kind of reputation system in the game. So if you're like familiar with any kind of gaming site or like casinos or whatever, they have this like retention system where the more you play, the more we reduce your fees. And part of the gameplay is going to be basically like you can get most of your contract extensions for free if you're trading and playing normally. The contracts are really aimed at the guys who don't play and just kind of want to sit on your mall for 10 years and cream off rewards. So that's a bit of a gate for them. But yeah, we need to kind of bring forward those systems, I think, and better explain that. Because in the madness of the last 2 weeks, I just haven't had a lot of time to think about explaining that particular aspect. But yeah, it's for like active players, you're paying for your shares and you're paying the fees. You're not intended to worry about contracts. So one of the ways of doing that could be like the more you pull them or the more you mill out of your development pool by like basically selling your development Yamal, you could maybe use that on contracts for Yamal. So it's like free value. So people like that because it feels like they're making progress. I think that's every action, like opening a pack, should feel like progress. And I think, there's something a bit off about that pack sequence that you guys are picking up on, and I don't think you're wrong.
So I love that you brought that up because, like I said, I was going to start talking about contracts, mostly because I'm in this point here. So like Pedri, Yamal, and Mbappe are my top holdings right now, and I didn't extend them immediately, which part of it was that the price of Yamal just went nuts. But just looking at it now, having to spend an additional like 41 gold per match to extend Yamal, which for those people who are kind of newly watching, every time that you first buy shares, you get 4 free contracts. And so Yamal has played 2 games already, which is why I have 2 left. And so kind of my thought was, am I going to have to pay $250 every every 5 weeks to play or every 4 weeks to extend my Pedri, or will I be able to do something else in the game that allows me to get kind of free extensions like that?
Yeah. I think that this is another sort of symptom of like some players being way more expensive than others as well, is that the contract extension for them feels way out of whack with the rewards, which it is. And then the cheaper players, it feels reasonable. So yeah, it's sort of an example of like our nice maths and theory hitting reality, and then they're not always based on rational prices, because it's not a rational market. But yeah, I think if you're not playing and trading, some of those are like quite reasonable prices. But if you're actively playing, then those are going to get like heavily discounted. So yeah, we need to speed up on that because people are approaching the point where their free contracts are running out, I guess. So yeah, I'll put that on my to-do list. The easiest thing would be just to extend everyone's contracts. But this is actually a really interesting point. All the contracts are extended at the moment, which also has a big effect on the rewards, because part of the game is if you pick the players that are like, cheaper or no one else has, then you could win more. You can certainly win more TP if you pick like the more unknown player. If his contract is like 20% owned, his ownership is way down. So you would get way more TP from that. You would also be more likely to go up on the skill board because fewer people would own him. You would get like the boost that no one else would get. So that's a little bit like having a sort of outlier pick in like FBL or something like that, like a differential. And that currently isn't in the game because everyone has extended contracts. So that would be like another layer of like interest. But yeah, let me see what we can do about the contract thing and whether we can start implementing that like volume discount like sooner rather than later before everyone's contracts run out in 2 weeks.
Well, this was sort of where I was going eventually. Yatza said, can't you just sell shares to buy the contracts? But like that's other than adding more gold, like that would be the only way to kind of like fund the contracts. Is like, this player either I won that player and I promoted them and I sell those shares in order to extend the shares that I have of that player, or I mean, it could be any
like
player.
So yeah, you could. It's probably perfectly acceptable to like promote players from your development squad, sell them, use the gold to extend the contracts of the players that you want. So that is, that works. And that is like the original intent. But yeah, I think I'm sort of, I'm very comfortable like with the revenue that we're making. We've made $2.5 million in the last 2 weeks. That's great because it makes us a really strong company. We've actually we've now made more revenue than we've raised from venture capital and whatnot in our first 2 weeks. So that's really good for the company. But yeah, we need to for everyone like trying to calculate ROIs. Like, there's just no way we'll let it happen that it's not going to feel good. We'll make the changes we need to make. So conversations like this are really useful for me because particularly the last 2 weeks, I've had my head in like marketing and VCs and whatever, and going on shows. But yeah, like what I really love is actually jamming on the game design and making sure this stuff is right. So yeah, I know everything is not absolutely bang on, but we will refine it as we go.
I know you have like only a handful of minutes left. But there are two things I wanted to get into. This one kind of brings it up. Selling's tricky because if you sell shares for contracts, then you lose your rep. I think there's been a lot of talk about rep, particularly because new people come in, don't understand why their rep is so low, and feels like people are selling. And if they withdraw, that hurts their rep. But if they just sell and they don't, can you just like speak a little bit in terms of specifically selling and rep and kind of like what rep will do after the kind of this initial phase?
Well, it's pretty simple. Trading is fine. Like, buying and selling is part of the game. The guys who get their reputation hit are usually they basically just extract money from the game. They actually like transfer it out of the game. So we look at those metrics. We look at like who's actually playing. There's no issue whatsoever in buying and selling players. I think that has got a bit lost. There's also people who like, I don't know, like they do lie. Like they sort of say, oh no, I didn't extract money from the game, but we do have that data, and we can see who does it. And so yeah, we do. It's actually quite a simple system. If people have like taken out more than they put in, then it's not like you're banned. It's just we don't invite you to the drops of like the new players, because again, everything we do is making it higher value to stick with us and play with us than it is to like try and clip off the edges of a young platform when we're trying to establish the market. So it's really aimed not at the people who are trying to play the game. It is aimed at the crypto guy who's just here and doesn't really care about the game at all, and they just want to flip. So that's the sort of person we're trying to get to. It is a little rough. Like we went from doing this manually with like 400 users to 15,000 users, and suddenly you can't be as compassionate as you used to be. You know, you can't look at every account and think about, well, what about this guy? Like it's automated blunt rules, and some people kind of can get caught out. You know, maybe they withdrew to do something and they were going to put it back in, but you know, we just didn't pick that up. But yeah, it's not a perfect system, but it won't last forever either. It will be, once the drops are done, that will just become a kind of automated reputation system, and it'll be much easier to follow, I think.
So last question on the drops. We have 10 players left of the top 100, and then we have the next 100. Can you tell us when that's happening?
Yeah. So we're going to do that pretty soon. So I think we've got 10 more players to drop. I think we haven't discussed this yet. I think we're going to do that next week.
Okay.
And then, yeah, probably the week after we will start. It's basically running back the Founders Pack sale. But for the next, like starting for the next batch of 100 players, it'll be the same price. So again, like, you know, we're not raising the price. We're always giving the players at the like absolute rock bottom market value, to maximize value to the players now that are coming. So that will be like heavily gated on that has to go to the real players, guys who have like their X account connected, people we can see used to play So Rare for many years. We know these guys are not here just for like a quick flip. We know they're like fans. So the more people can do on their connect section of their account to show us, hey, these are actually real players, the much more likely they're going to be able to qualify for that drop. And we also look at obviously everyone's trading history. So if you've been playing the game, you've been accruing skill points and tournament points, and you've been trading normally, that's a good indicator for us. So yeah, we're trying to make sure that those drops are targeted at the right players. Our market is quite, apart from the massive run up, our market actually has quite a strong floor to it. And that's because we gave the original founding pack sale was actually to the right sort of people. You know, we cultivated them through beta in that same way. And we want to do that all again. So yeah, you can, I think I said this on an earlier show, but you can definitely expect another month of kind of chaos from Football.Fun. But it has been a lot of fun, and people have found it very rewarding. So we're going to basically run back the last month again with the Founders Pack sales. And then by the time we get to the end of September, we should have all players live on the platform. And that is when I hope we start to stabilize and it becomes much more routine of like tournament after tournament, rather than the drops, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's all I have your time for. So I really appreciate you coming on. You told me you had a hard stop. I probably do too. So Adam, it's been absolutely wild. Well, it's been a couple months, but the last 2 weeks have been very, very wild. Really appreciate you taking the time to answer the questions. I know I'm going to end up inevitably getting more of them. So we're just going to have to do this again sometime soon.
Anytime. Yeah. Thanks for having me on, guys. See you.
Thanks, Adam. So yeah, like I said, there are going to be tons of other questions that you guys have. Feel free to drop any in the comments of this video. You can hit me up on Discord or Twitter or wherever, and I'll see if I can get those answers quickly. Otherwise, like I said, Adam has been really generous with his time, so hopefully we can get him back on and just answer a whole mess of other questions. I think it is really important to just remember that this first month is just very different of what the game is going to be in the next 10 years. And a lot of the things that they are doing during these launches and during the pack drops and everything is they're trying to reward the people who they can try to loosely recognize as those who are going to be on the platform after this next month or 2 or 3. And I'm sorry I didn't like bring up the live chat a lot. I felt like I really wanted to get into the whole SPTP thing with Adam because that's really what I've been thinking about, and a few people that I talked to have been talking about a lot, and wanted to just get some clarity on that. Just because the whole point of the rewards is that they're supposed to feel rewarding, and we're in this weird spot now where they don't always feel that way. And so I wanted to get Adam kind of on record, I guess, with question or with responses to that. And so but also in this pack drop, and I've seen some comments here just in terms of like punishing users. I think the way that they are looking at it, or at least the way that I am looking at it, is they're not punishing users for withdrawing. They are rewarding users who don't in this initial phase as they try to get enough money in the liquidity pool and allowing the market to launch and then stabilize. And so, yeah, that's the way I'm looking at it. And so, yeah, maybe you do too. Anyway, thank you to everybody for coming. If you could please like, subscribe, and all of that, trying to grow this channel, at least on YouTube. If you're watching on X, feel free to follow because there will be plenty of more Football.Fun content here and elsewhere. I'll have my game week rankings on X coming out later today. Today's Wednesday. And so, yeah, go check that out. Anyway, thank you to everybody for coming. And don't forget to go outside.